call the meeting of the City Council to order and start with a roll call, please.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Here. Mr. Mullen.
Council meet in closed session to discuss the following items. There will be no meeting on item 1. Item 2, public employee appointment involving the city manager. Item 3, conference with legal counsel on existing litigation. 3A1 in the matter of Zenley LLC versus City of Oceanside. And item 3AB, conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation, significant exposure on one case.
During the closed session.
Barbara, we're going to do yours first. We're going to do ours first. The contract case first. You chair?
California dreaming, I'm in Oceanside. California dreaming, California dreaming, I'm in Oceanside. California dreaming, California dreaming, I'm in Oceanside. California dreaming, Side original.
We're going to call this meeting of the City Council to order and start with a roll call, please.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Feller.
Here.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Here.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Here. If you would rise with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Again. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little more.
At this time, I'd like to have Carrie Dale come forward.
Good evening, and I'm going to be introducing Ron Lukey, who is our Chief Plant Operator at the Mission Basin Groundwater Purification Facility.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Charles Wardell. He is a board member with the Southwest Membrane Operator Association.
Thank you very much, Ron. So just to give you a little information, the Southwest Membrane Operators Association is there to train water treatment plant operators. That's our entire modus operandi. So every year we give away an award for the best plant of the year. So what we do is we ask for applications across all the plants within California, Nevada, and all our other state territories. And with that, we get all sorts of applications. And in this case, we were actually able to review them all and determine that the Mission Basin desalter was the small plant of the year. I want you to understand that this is not an easy award to win. It takes a lot of effort, and we at Swallow understand how much effort goes into running these water treatment plants. It's not just a single effort with just the operations group. Obviously, Ron and his team have done a great job at making sure the water treatment plant operates the way that it does. But it also requires all the support of the management above him, as well as the board here, in order to approve all these upgrades to the plants and making sure that it runs properly. So with that, we'd like to present this to Ron. Oh, sorry. Mr. White, excuse. Now we're going serious. Anyway.
Thank you. At this point, I'd like to invite Emerald with the Chamber to come up with our business spotlight.
On behalf of the Oceanside Chamber, I'd like to call up Haley Wansley of Intesta Communications to be recognized as our Member of the Month for August. Haley graduated with honors from the University of California, Santa Cruz, and studied at the University of Melbourne, Australia. She's also a graduate of CSU San Marcos Leadership North County Program and the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce's Lead Impact Program. She's earned a credential from the California State Association of Counties for Excellence in Senior Leadership for County Government. And she's also been named one of Vista Chamber's 40 Under 40 Best and Brightest, and was recognized in the San Diego Business Journal's Next 40 Top Business Leaders Under 40. Before joining Intesta, Haley spent 6 years serving as the Director of Community Affairs for County Supervisor Bill Horn. And during her time there, she coordinated and guided the comprehensive economic development strategy for the North County region and administered $2.7 million in grant programs each year. Today, Haley manages Intesta's North County projects and serves a variety of their government relations and community outreach clients. She's a board member of both the Oceanside Chamber of Commerce and KOCT. Haley also chairs our Chamber's Young Professionals Committee, where she assists our staff in engaging, informing, and connecting young professionals of Oceanside and the surrounding cities. We thank Haley for her support and dedication to serving our community. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you for the award, and thank you to the City Council for the award as well. I'm really optimistic about Oceanside's future, and I'm just proud to be a part of it.
Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. I'll go ahead and give the closed session report. The council met to discuss items 2 and 3 on the closed session agenda. There was no meeting on item 1. Item 2, public employee appointment involving the city manager. Item 3, conference with legal counsel on existing litigation in the matter of Zenley versus City of Oceanside. And item 3B, conference with legal counsel on anticipated litigation in the matter of one case involving the Jones Road sewer. The council did meet on items 2, 3, and 4. There is no action reportable under the Brown Act at this time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go to our consent calendar, which are items 5 through 30. Do we have any public?
We have item number 24 and item number 25 pulled by the public.
It's 24 and 25?
For item number 24, Walter Brown.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Walter Brown. I live at 1434 Temple Heights Drive here in Oceanside. I've been an Oceanside resident for about 36 years, and I've had an aircraft at the Oceanside Airport for about 19 years. I represent the Oceanside Airport Association. We wish to let you know that we are pleased with the resurfacing of the taxiways and runway contract that is up for your consideration this evening. We suggest that you do approve it and are in agreement with the staff report. We hope that this activity is just the precursor for other improvements to the airport, and look for an increased vigor from staff and airport ventures to improve our airport. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's vote on that item and the balance of the consent calendar. Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes, asking to pull items 12 and 27. Move approval for ballot.
I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second to approve the balance. Please vote. Been approved, 5-0. Let's go to item 12, please. Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. This item is titled Approval of Amendment 1 to the Purchase and Sale Agreement with Shara Crockett, Inc., doing business as Pacific Group, for the sale of city-owned vacant land declared as surplus located on the north side of Vista Way between Lyle Street and North Way for the purchase price of $580,000 and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment. The reason why I pulled this is land that was that the city took eminent domain on, and when the city was wanting to widen Vista Way, there were several homes that were there that were part of the Costa Serena community, and so that was a while ago. Recently, the Costa Serena community had been talking to the city and reaching out to me as well about turning this sliver of land, which is right off Vista Way and pretty much a part of Costa Serena, as a park. They don't have a clubhouse. They have no common areas except for the medians, and that's it. There's not very much at all for Costa Serena, and many of the residents there at Costa Serena walk on Vista Way and walk along Vista Way and use this as pretty much, because of the high traffic area there, they use it as a buffer and also to enjoy it. They use it to walk their dogs and part of their enjoyment of their community. The city was approached, unsolicited approach, to buy this sliver of land for residential, which of course means that it will no longer be available to the Costa Serena community. And I am opposing the sale because I do feel very strongly that we have very little green space out there, and that we ought to have, in fact, moved on the request to make this a small park for not just the Costa Serena community, but there are other neighbors there as well, neighborhoods there as well. So I pull this so that I can vote no. Thank you.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
I do not second that. My concern is if this was something that was a concern to a council member, it would have been brought up long before this as an item and not toward the tail end when all of these items have been negotiated. So I move for approval of this item.
Do we have a second to that?
And a second.
Can I do a point of order? This was the first time that this was actually before the public. Everything else was in closed session. This was the first time that I was able to voice my no vote. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Four to one, Sanchez no.
Item 25, please.
Under item number 25, we have one speaker, Roger Lane.
Hello, Council. Thank you for listening to me today. I'm here to represent HTS Mechanical Incorporated. I'm estimator and project manager for that company. I'm here to ask the Council to consider the award of the sewer lift station number 3 project to the second bidder. We were the low bidder on the project, and they've called their bid non-responsive. We believe it was non-responsive. There's a couple of minor clerical errors that don't total more than $1,000 that happened. We admit that in the heat of the battle. The numbers just didn't get posted exactly right. But it's a over $50,000 savings to go with us as the low bidder, and we think the job should go to us. Basically, that's what I'm here to speak of tonight. That's basically it. And we would like the council to consider that our errors were minor, and in fact, we deserve to be awarded the project. Thank you.
Thank you. Staff, would you like to respond to that, please?
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff evaluated bids and although there were a clerical error, we did follow procedure. The contractor had the ability to notify us of those clerical errors within 5 business days. HPS did not notify us. In turn, I sent a letter to the contractor as well as emailed them. And at that point, they called me and had asked what the error was with the bid. We informed them at that time of the mathematical error. In addition to that error, one of the requirements of the project is to do a concrete lining of the wet well for the sewer lift station. That requires, we have 3 approved manufacturers for that liner, and that is a sole, those liners have to be installed by approved installers. And HPS was not an approved installer and did not list the subcontractor on their bid to install that material. And so for this reason, we have recommended going with the second low bidder. If we did go with HPS, we would be setting ourselves up for the second low bidder to then protest that award as well. And part of this award the project needs to be installed fairly soon. There's construction limitations with harbor days and avoiding the summer months. So we have a very constricted timeline to complete this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sanchez?
Thank you. I did get a chance to speak with staff about this and the discrepancies and was this a de minimis kind of a situation? And my understanding is not de minimis. Also that if we were to go out to bid again, it would delay the project by 1 year. And that would be, and this is kind of a time is of the essence project. So I apologize very much to the HPS Plumbing, who were the lowest bid, but I have to agree with staff that it was because of the errors, it was non-responsive, and the most expeditious thing to do, and we have to be very responsible here, is to go ahead and support staff's recommendations. So I'm going to go ahead and move that we approve staff's recommendation.
Second. Deputy Mayor Feller? We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion approved, 5-0. Item 27, Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. Well, this is a really good item, and it's a really feel-good item for the city, for the citizens of Oceanside. This item is to adopt a resolution accepting grant funds in the amount of $7.84 million. Let me say that again, $7.84 million from the state of California, the Natural Resources Agency, to construct our beachfront improvements project. This is going to save us pretty much the $8 million that we had decided to set aside from Measure X funds to build something that was, extremely critical, and that is the beachfront improvements. The bathrooms sorely, I think it's been years that we really needed to do something about that. So I want to thank our Assemblywoman, Tasha, for moving so quickly on this. Within 5 months, she got this from taking office. She got this for us, and it's a record. We really haven't gotten any funds from the state included in the budget, separate from, say, applying for grants. This is such a wonderful, wonderful project. So I want to thank staff also. She was looking for shovel-ready projects, and our city manager responded quickly to her request. That's why we were able to, qualify. And we're going to start when? Now. So, move adoption. Thank you.
Second. Deputy Mayor Feller?
When did we apply for this grant?
Deputy Mayor Feller, Honorable Mayor, Council members, we really didn't apply. It was essentially an earmark, but we were contacted probably about 3 months ago.
Thank you.
Councilmember Klein?
5 months.
I just want to take a chance to thank staff as well. I think that was the one difference in us getting that money was the due diligence of staff, having the project ready, being in constant communication with our local leaders and those relationships, and this is gonna be fantastic for the city. So thank you again.
Yeah, she did reach out to me, and then I reached out to Michelle really quickly. So,
Is there anything you'd like to add, Mr. Curtis, to this issue? No? Okay. We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
hallelujah, right?
Motion approved, 5-0.
Yay!
Go to item 31, please, which is adoption of resolution regarding Wanda Thurston. I guess not.
I think he's coming down.
I guess we'll wait. How many do you have on 33? Oh, I mean 34.
34, we currently have 5 speakers.
Let's do it.
Okay. First speaker is Ken Layton, to be followed by Mariori Contreras, to be followed by Cindy Rocco. We are on 34.
Mayor Weiss and council members, Ken Layton, 1221 St. Helene Court. The last time I spoke was at that special afternoon July meeting. At that time, I referred to the city clerk as Zach. Knowing Zeb for some 25 years, I must now apologize to Zeb. It was a senior moment, 2 Z names. Again, my apologies. The point of that speech was to implore either the city clerk or the mayor to encourage every speaker to identify what neighborhood they live in when they speak up here. It used to be that the council leadership was hard and fast on asking speakers to identify their address. It's gotten real loosey-goosey, and now people from Vista or San Diego or wherever are free to get up and speak on Oceanside issues just as if they live here. But sometimes they don't. Please make it a point going forward to encourage speakers to identify their neighborhood, to ensure that these meetings aren't opportunities for out-of-town actors with no skin in the game who are getting paid to support a certain developer or cause. This is now crucial because one council member committed in writing that he could deliver 50 people from his district to get up and speak in support of a certain development. Congratulations. But with all due respect, just to make sure we're in fact not getting scammed, please, going forward, encourage speakers to identify the Oceanside neighborhood they live in. Other journalists I spoke to have told me they would absolutely like to know where the council speakers are from so as to better cover how business is being conducted in this fine city. Please note that just as he was leaving his office in Oceanside, the previous city clerk, Zach Beck, was attempting to bring Oceanside up to the standard now being employed by many other cities. They use a kiosk up front at council meetings so that everyone who wishes to speak simply types in their name, topic to be addressed, and yes or no, do you live in Oceanside? The city attorney has already ruled that this question is completely legal and appropriate. Oceanside's IT department has already spent money on getting this kiosk project off the ground. Please, let's enter the modern era and do what many other cities already do and implement this kiosk check-in system. No waste of paper, no awkward treks up to the dais. And we will know if people speaking even live in Oceanside and have a legitimate reason to speak. Are city council meetings being overwhelmed by paid out-of-town flunkies, as some have alleged? I don't know, but please do everything possible to make sure that these meetings are completely on the up and up and not being commandeered by out-of-town developers with business before the city who have to pay to have people speak on their behalf. Encourage neighborhood identification. Please finish the kiosk check-in project you started but abandoned when Zach Beck left. Thank you.
Next speaker, Mariori Contreras, to be followed by Cindy Rocco.
Good evening. My name is Marjorie Contreras, and I am the President and CEO for Bilbro Construction, and I am under contract with the City of Oceanside to construct the Tyson Beach Park Restaurant project. My purpose is addressing you today is to request that you assistance in resolving some of the problems that we have encountered with the project with the city engineering staff so that we don't end up in litigation. The project was awarded to Bilbro on January 9, 2019, with a completion date of May 24, 2019, and extremely short construction time. It was presented as a fully designed project at that time. The design of this building was highly customized building to be built from combination of block, metal, wood, plastic, specified many items that were from Europe, hard to find. Some of them were in no compliance with environmental, and they're very difficult to process for delivery on time for this project. The city, instead of recognizing the impossibility to construct in such a short time frame, has held funding, sometimes for months, counselors to work 6 to 7 days per week, financing the project not to pay a subcontractor in violation of the public law. Reward items needed to be done so many times, and the city has not accepted any responsibility for any of the problems that we encounter due to this project being almost impossible to construct to the design. The city has refused to negotiate time extension, giving us more time extension for rainy days. When we complain because it rains so many days when the working time, they deny the request. We had forced to paint areas that we had already installed, taken it down, and said with the Q-tip, you need to seal a 1/8 of an inch hole because of under the direction of the architects. These are just some of the few things that I can mention. The foregoing, we were forced to work in an extremely hostile work environment due to the actions of the members of the staff. We're constantly subject to name calling, slurs, ratios, and derogative statements to me by employees and by subcontractors. I will formally put a complaint tomorrow, and I will send it to the city engineer with all the statements. At this point, I have engaged an attorney on this project to the advice of my surety company and advice of another subcontractor that I am going through issues like this with the city. I asked for assistance in completing this project and solving all the administration issues that we have outstanding so that we can avoid litigation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here is Cindy Rocco, to be followed by Kelly McCormick, to be followed by Arlene Hammerschmidt.
Hi, my name is Cindy Rocco, and I live in South Oceanside. I'm here as one of the founding members of Represent Oceanside, and our overall goal is to have governance we can trust. And right now I have two items. One is to request on the September 18th meeting if we could change that important charter workshop on salaries, aids, and term limits to 6 o'clock instead of 2 o'clock. It's a very important workshop, and just hate to have that and actually invest the time and money into doing that meeting, whereas we should add additional items such as having a commission, contribution limits, ethics commission, ethics board. But anyway, we want to make it more comprehensive, and for those of you who are fiscally responsible, why would we waste our time doing all this without it being all-inclusive, and also making it a higher level of public engagement? I understand on one of our charters, way back when, there was like 40 public meetings. So I'm just hoping on that date that we can make it on 6 o'clock, and that we can make this all-inclusive and not waste your time and our time. Thank you.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. If I can, thank you. We do have on this agenda, under adjournment, that the meeting that we are to adjourn to the council workshop on August 14th for this particular workshop that was just described. It says 2 o'clock. Oh, I'm sorry, that's Coast Highway. Okay, that one is actually at 2 o'clock. The one that was just discussed it's at 6 o'clock. I think she was talking about the Coast Highway Corridor Study that is set for August 14th at 2 o'clock. May we, at this meeting, at the appropriate time, discuss moving that to 6 o'clock? I believe the city attorney said yes.
You could discuss it at the time of your adjournment. If you want to change the time to the future meeting, we would have to agendize it under the Brown Act at the time you want.
Right, so we can discuss it and we can change it and adjourn to 6 o'clock on August 14th? Okay. And I do apologize for doing it now, but I wanted to make sure that I addressed Ms. Rocco's issue because she has asked me before, actually on more than one occasion, if we can move it to 6 o'clock from the 2 o'clock.
Well, the item she spent all the time talking about is already at 6 o'clock.
That one is.
Can we go to the next speaker?
Thank you.
All right. Next speaker is Kellyanne McCormick, to be followed by Arlene Hammerschmidt.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. I'm Kelly McCormick. I'm a public health educator, a former health journalist. I work with youth in Oceanside and other parts of North County, and I'm the parent of 2 teenagers who are part of a generation bombarded with marijuana commercialization and the false message that marijuana is a harmless drug. Numerous scientific studies reveal that regular use of high-potency THC can damage brain development and lead to mental health crises, particularly for youth, including an increased risk for psychotic episodes and risk of developing schizophrenia. This is not hyperbole, but statistical fact. That's not the only risk. There's also the health and environmental damage posed by pesticides, fungicides, rodenticides, mold, heavy metals, and other contaminants found in marijuana products. These contaminants are concentrated when marijuana products are concentrated, as they are with dabs, waxes, and vapes. Marijuana users put their health at risk, and so do employees who work with these potentially contaminated products. Oceanside is in the process of licensing cultivation and manufacturing businesses, so I ask that you implement a transparent process that gives the public notice before any actions are taken and that provides opportunity for community members to be heard. Specifically, I've heard from community members asking that you publicize all notices of application and that you implement a conditional use permit process that includes public hearings. Neighbors and residents justifiably have concerns about the ways marijuana businesses may affect our quality of life, community character, property values, crime and loitering, traffic, parking problems, air and water quality, and odor, a notorious problem with pot cultivation and manufacturing, despite promises of filtration. The city also must have adequate staffing and code enforcement so that complaints can be investigated and remediated quickly. For public and environmental safety, marijuana remnants and byproducts must be considered biohazardous waste and disposed of in a defined manner. And any damaged products should be required to have verification that they have been properly disposed of in a certified location. The pot industry will claim its products are tested, but this is true for only a tiny fraction of marijuana. The vast majority is not tested. There are not enough testing facilities in the state of California, and there are none at all in San Diego County. Thank you.
Thank you for your patience. Good evening. Arlene Hammerschmidt, Ivy Road in Fire Mountain. I am speaking tonight to you because I spent the month of July analyzing all 4 charter attempts of this city. The result is this. Side-by-side comparison of the issues from each one. We're not going to discuss this right now in 3 minutes. No way. The major points that kept coming out to me were two. One, the decline in public-generated material, public-generated interest. And the second was issues that we're continuing to hear today that were addressed in detail in 86 and 90 that are not in the current charter that we have right now. For instance, how to fill council vacancies, term limits, city residency requirements of the city manager, city attorney, police, and fire chiefs. Nepotism is addressed to some extent in our ordinances, but not to the detail that was addressed in 86 and 90. How often to revise the charter, or at least revisit it? 10 years. Direction to all staff was only to come from the city manager. Conflicts of interest were addressed. Fair political practices and conflict of interest exceeded what we have now as the California Fair Political Practices Commission. So a little bit by the numbers. Camera, I don't know how to do the camera, so catch up. Thank you. You can see it. I can see it. Cool. You can see the decline in public creation and participation over the years, whether there was a charter commission or not. There was no charter commission in 90 and 2010. The council's participation from direction and approval down to one member in consultation with one lawyer created the charter that we have right now. And what the other part that really jumps out at me is not only the disconnect and this is the discontent of the public, which shows that our current governance is out of balance. The public has been disregarded, denied, disrespected, and we're not quite to the point yet where this takes time, and this takes time.
So please wrap it up.
I'm trying. Where our county superintendents are, this was a comment from the UT editorial staff. Right now there's not a hostility from this group toward public input, but there is some leanings toward that. The September 18th workshop, we hope it will be expanded to a commission that makes recommendations to the council regarding charter and ordinances reviews, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. At this time, we'll go to item 35, and I'll turn it over to Councilmember Rodriguez.
Thank you. I'm going to just go ahead and read the text and then elaborate briefly before hearing my colleagues' comments. City Council request by myself and the mayor for staff to implement within 90 days a structured and streamlined planning case review process that establishes a predictable zoning entitlement review path for developers. Actions are to include the following. A, establish a planning case review schedule that clearly illustrates processing timeframes so that the development community has a clear understanding of the timing and process associated with the review of discretionary planning applications. B, provide an opportunity for project applications to meet face-to-face with staff during the initial 30-day application review, to provide an opportunity for developers and their teams to meet with staff to discuss preliminary conditions of approval and work through potential issues in a face-to-face meeting. C, empower reviewing staff to make decisions and provide clear direction during developer meetings in order to minimize or eliminate the need for future iterative reviews. D, identify and implement measures to reduce the need for subsequent 30-day review cycles as projects are revised and resubmitted. And finally, identify any fee adjustments needed to ensure full cost recovery of the process described and present any necessary adjustments for City Council consideration. So long story short, what we're looking to do is move on a much more efficient and streamlined pathway for the development community so that they can save on cost, they can have improved timelines, and they have a sense of certainty. This will be a win-win for the development community as well as for the city on saving time, saving money, and I'm really excited for staff to consider this and to move forward on it. I think, as a developer or small or large, as they move on infill development, big or small, they have a sense of anxiety when it comes to, is this going to get approved? Am I going to have roadblocks? And by having a program and a system like this, it's going to give them that certainty so that in the end, through that time savings and cost savings, that's going to translate for homes to be more affordable. It's just practically the way it's going to go. And the city of Oceanside is going to make more money. So it's going to be a win-win. We're going to be more business friendly. And so I'm really excited to move this forward and hear what my colleagues have to say.
Do we have public? Yes, we do. We have one speaker, Arlene Hammerschmidt.
Good evening, Honorable Council. Arlene Hammerschmidt, Ivy Road in Fire Mountain. So, the way this reads, it sounds like it's all for the developers and citizens get nothing. In fact, it could be interpreted as the developers could jump ahead of a homeowner who has an application in because it sounds like it just applies to developers. Now, development, I think in the city of Oceanside is 4 or more houses. Even the name of development services is a little confusing because I know that also services homeowners. So I recommend a change in language. Replace developer with all planning applicants, if that's how it would work. If it's not how it would work, then leave developers. Also, obviously, this seems to be generated from the development community because the phrase is the development community in Section A. In Section B, it'd be nice if some of us homeowners with an application for a project could have a sit-down face-to-face within the first 30 days to see if it's good enough or not, if it's going to fly or not. That'd be nice, but, do the developers get this, but the homeowners don't? And again, in Section C, during developer meetings, I know developer meetings are a continual, it happens all the time. It's like a normal standard process. I don't know if homeowners get developer meetings. So what's the intent? Words matter. Interpretation, there's planning department is already struggling with trying to make sure that ordinances are interpreted the way they are intended. So let's not leave room for interpretation. Let's honor the homeowners. Honor the residents. We've got a bad reputation in the city already. Too many people feel like it's all about development. It's not about homeowners. It's not about the residents. So let's make it clear and make it a strike for homeowners. Thank you.
There are no more speakers.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Thank you. And I do believe that this is intended for all applicants for development services. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so I think we can do that. Change the wording so it's applicants for development services. Development services, by definition, includes planning, building, engineering. So that would be all applicants. I did get a chance to ask staff what the difference would be because it seems to me that we're pretty much doing all of what it basically states. And what I pretty much got out of this is the only real new thing here is this early face-to-face, which is within 30 days, and of course it would be cost neutral, so it would be at the cost of the applicant. And actually, one of the things, Ms. Hammerschmidt, that you actually stated is one of my concerns. And that is that whenever you have a pay-to-play, this is very akin to pay-to-play, you can actually jump in front of others. I envision this especially for, as you said, homeowners, smaller projects. This is something when the Coastal Commission was looking at this, paying, there were a lot of developers, especially big developers, who were willing to pay for the cost of having a dedicated, someone dedicated to their project so they can hurry up and get their project approved. The concern then that was voiced then by staff and also by some of the commissioners was that this indeed is like a pay-to-play where you could get bumped. Even if you applied for some time, earlier, someone else could bump in front of you because they would then, of course, pay for this. And if they're able to pay for it, because I'm sure that the face-to-face would, depending on how complicated the project is, and also depending on the background of the individual, it will be whatever time it takes for that person to be able to get through and, get this interview done. So I do have that concern about this, the potential for what could happen to pay to play, that our residents would then get kind of bumped down on a list. At this point, what I would like to do is to take a neutral position and see what staff comes up with, because this is direction to staff. And while there's specifics here, perhaps staff could address my concern about how this is going to impact, say, people who are really concerned about the bottom line for getting projects done, like whatever it be, like ADUs, or they have a lot, maybe they inherited a lot and they would like to go forward with a project. It would be nice to have this face-to-face, but some people just want to try to cut down costs, and this may be one of them. Will it impact where they are in line in terms of getting services from development services? So I feel that we're doing much of this. The big change here would be that face-to-face early on, and those are my concerns. Thank you.
Councilman Rodriguez.
To help educate a little bit colleagues and the speaker, Ms. Hammerschmidt. So the City of Oceanside has excellent staff, and our permitting process and systems, I believe, are probably some of the best in the county. We're not dealing with the standard permitting process. We're dealing with the entitlement pathway, which is a lot more in-depth and requires a lot more cost on the developer's part. For example, if they have to move forward on this study or that study, they can easily spend close to $300,000 before they have an entitlement. And that's a lot of risk. And so what this will allow, these changes A through E, which I worked with staff on and to help formulate a council agenda item that would make sense, this is big changes to what we're doing now. This is not what we're currently doing, council member. And this will help us streamline that process so that there is more staff time available to the public, and there's more consistency and certainty. So if you, for example, like Riverside County, if you hand in your plans on XYZ dates, which are set, you're going to get a response with comments back by XYZ date. And at that time, you could set up a meeting paid for by the individual, whether you're a homeowner, a developer, we could call it whatever you want. Then you could sit in front of that staff with your team, the city staff you recommend, and everybody can collaborate, and so there's not this misconception, because what traditionally happens is the comments will come back, they will do their best, the development team, to get it back, and then they'll review it for 30 more days. Well, then those conflict with water or fire, and now it's this long, drawn-out year process when that could have just been resolved with one meeting. And so this is going to substantially improve the development process, saving both our city time and money and the development community time and money, and I think it's a win-win to move forward on for our city.
Is that a motion?
I make a motion to move forward on item 35.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. No other speakers, please vote. Councilman Sanchez.
Yeah, first of all, the one thing that I wanted to add here is that we do have a customer satisfaction survey and input, and this past month we had very good feedback. So I'm not sure what this is. Again, the problem ain't a big problem here. Plus, I have been assured by staff that we're already doing most of this, and that the real change here is that face-to-face. So again, my comments stand about, my concerns about paying to play. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Feller?
Thank you. Could you come forward, Jonathan, please? Traffic's part of your department as well, right?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Councilman, I didn't hear the question.
Yes, traffic.
No, traffic is actually, it was at one time under development services, it's now under public works.
We have developer conferences right now. That's probably the best investment anybody could make. Preliminarily, I think it's like $250 or something like that to come in and sit down with all the players and understand what you need, which is a pretty good start. My main question is, do you think this could be implemented in 90 days, or I'm not sure if that's the right word there. Is this going to take some time to put into play?
Sure, Honorable Mayor and council members. So yeah, I think 90 days is absolutely feasible for this. It's something that we've had some discussions on already. Essentially, the primary difference here is, as was mentioned during the presentations, is right now we don't have a very structured application process with set deadlines. There are deadlines that are established through what's called the Permit Streamlining Act, so that there are actually laws in place right now that mandate certain review periods. However, that's not necessarily memorialized in our procedures. Of course, we follow them to the extent we can, but this will actually bring much more structure to the process. And I will say that from my perspective, based on the information that I have, it would apply to all project applicants, whether it's a mom and pop adding on to their home or a developer that's building a shopping center.
The key, I think, for us is, we've heard of 100 occasions where, I don't know if the analogy, lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink, of what they need to do to go through this process. I just think that's the important thing that we need to help them understand as we go through this process. So.
Yes, and actually on that point, staff actually is currently working on updating our application materials and our applications to further clarify exactly what needs to be submitted with an application. That's a very important step in the process. I would agree to have clarity in terms of what needs to be submitted up front to prevent any miscommunication that could delay a project.
Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 401 abstain from Councilmember Sanchez.
At this time, we'll take a short break and come back at 6 o'clock for our public hearing item.
Welcome to Oceanside Harbor.
Opened in 1963, the beautiful Oceanside Harbor in northwest Oceanside is a wonderful location to relax and enjoy the scenic views. For over 50 years, Oceanside Harbor has been a launching location for aquatic adventure. You can sail, spend a day on a deep-sea fishing boat, whale watch, rent kayaks, jet skis, pedal boats, or glide atop a paddleboard. The Oceanside Harbor has 24 34-foot slips and several side ties set aside for cruisers that can be reserved with prior arrangement. Remaining guest spaces are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Call the Harbor Office for reservations. A year-round favorite is a visit with the sea lion. Snap your photo from a distance. Please do not approach. Glancing down among the rocks, you'll see brightly colored garibaldi, the California state fish. Crabs can be seen scurrying among the rocks as well. Venture onto the small fishing pier nearby, and you'll likely meet a pelican or snowy egret looking for lunch. Dolphins have also been known to venture in and take a look around, so keep your eyes peeled. The Oceanside Harbor is a fantastic location to enjoy a delicious meal and take in the scenic view. Next stop, the charming Harbor Village, where visitors can pick up souvenirs, kites, beach towels, and decor. Visit the market for the freshest, just-caught seafood, too. You'll find about 2 miles of sidewalk to stroll or walk your dog, which will take you around the entire harbor. There are benches and picnic tables if you want to do a little people, boat, and seabird watching. There really is no more relaxing way to spend a day. Park for free along the road or in one of our many lots. Ideal for family fishing fun, the small fishing pier is located in the center of the Oceanside Harbor, overlooking the harbor entrance. Catch a variety of local species. Excellent for children with picnic areas immediately adjacent. A wide, expansive, sandy view, Harbor Beach is Oceanside's largest. The jetties create great surf conditions, a beautiful spot to watch local surfers and take in the surf contest. This beach has 3 lifeguard towers, picnic areas, volleyball courts, playgrounds, fire rings, and restaurants. Harbor Beach is a beautiful venue that has something to offer everyone.
I'm Kelly O. Davis, and this is Did You Know on KOCC. Did you know that you can support KOCC, the voice of North County, by becoming a friend of KOCC.org? Becoming a friend of KOCC not only backs the future quality of KOCC programming, but grants you access to KOCC's community calendar, among other great benefits. If you are a nonprofit for only $125 a year, you can advertise your events or services to the North County community. You can access the bulletin board on our community calendar, aired on Cox Channel 18, twice a day, Monday through Friday, and once on Saturday. You will receive a 10% discount off of KOCC's production services, as well as dedicated airtime for your submitted program. If you are a filmmaker for only $150 a year, North County filmmakers have the exciting opportunity to get their film shown on KOCC's Community Channel 18 and on KOCC.org. By becoming a friend of KOCC, you will receive dedicated airtime for your program, as well as having your program featured on our Filmmakers Spotlight on KOCC.org. Your program will be shared on all of KOCC's social media platforms, and you will receive a 10% discount off KOCC production services. Go to KOCC.org and let's be friends.
bid, and we'll start with disclosures.
We've had a lot of staff. I've had a lot of staff, but as well as that input from the community. I think that's it.
Community and Main Street, Oceanside.
Staff, community, and Main Street, Oceanside.
Staff, community, and Main Street.
Ms. Lorson, you're on.
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Deanna Lorson, Assistant City Manager. So this item is regarding establishment of the Downtown Oceanside Property and Business Improvement District. My presentation will cover what is a PBID, the Management District Plan, proposed modifications, the formation process, and the recommendation. By way of background, the City and Main Street Oceanside have established a number of goals for downtown, including to enhance safety and cleanliness, to improve customer, resident, and visitor experience, to attract and retain business and investment in downtown. As a result of that, Main Street Oceanside convened interested stakeholders and toured successful downtowns and identified property and business improvement districts, also known as a PBID, as effective mechanisms to help further those goals. They also retained the consulting services from Civitas and formed a steering committee to look at forming a PBID in downtown Oceanside. A PBID is a benefit assessment district authorized by legislation in California in 1994. It is a self-imposed and self-governed private sector assessment. It provides a special benefit to assessed parcels above those already provided by the city. Funds are collected on the property tax bill and are forwarded to a nonprofit owners association, and funds must be spent in accordance with the management district plan that is established when the PBID is formed. There are over 100 PBIDs in California, and some nearby examples include in Long Beach and San Diego. The management district plan is the governing document for the PBID. The PBID will have a duration of 5 years, starting on January 1 of 2020 through the end of 2024. Management will be by the Downtown Oceanside PBID Governing Committee, which will be a standing committee of Main Street Oceanside comprised solely of property owners and representatives paying the assessment. They will be responsible for managing the assessment funds, and they will have full decision-making authority. They will be subject to both the Brown Act and the California Public Records Act, and they will be required to make an annual report to City Council. Main Street Oceanside has submitted a letter requesting 2 changes based on property owner input that has come about through this formation process. They are asking that the PBID boundary be changed to delete properties north of Civic Center Drive and south of Seagaze Drive, and that the assessment rate for residential condominiums within the district be reduced by 50%. The City Council does have the authority to make these changes per the state PBID law at this public hearing. This slide illustrates the boundary modification. It would remove 96 properties, so originally encompassing 288 properties down to 192 properties focused on the core of downtown Oceanside. It is a larger map just showing the new boundary contained within Nevada, Seagaze, Civic Center, and then extending to the Strand. The second modification would reduce the residential condo assessment rate by 50%. So the modified assessment rates per square foot would be 25 cents a square foot for commercial, $18.75 for public, and $12.50 for religious and condo uses. And per the management district plan, there's a maximum 3% annual increase. The revised budget then would be $370,000 annually. The original budget was just over $500,000. Per the plan, funds must be spent in the categories identified, which is 41% for maintenance, 33% for safety, 13% for economic development and capital improvements, 11% for administration and advocacy, and then 2% in a contingency reserve. So just about 3/4 of the funds would be spent on clean and safe activities to improve downtown Oceanside. The formation process consists of 3 steps. The first step was back on June 19th when the City Council received petitions from 55.9% of property owners weighted by the assessment amount and initiated the formation process. The following day, a notice and Proposition 218 ballot were mailed to all property owners who would be subject to the assessment, and that started a mandatory minimum 45-day ballot period, which ends with tonight's public hearing. Tonight is the final step in the process, and so Council's role is to receive public testimony and then tabulate the ballot. In order for the PBID to be formed, ballots in favor must exceed the ballots opposed, weighed by the assessment amount. And our recommendation tonight is that the Council hear public testimony regarding the proposed formation and receive ballots from affected property owners, that they close the public hearing and direct or authorize the City Clerk to count the ballots, and then recess while the ballots are being counted. Then once the ballot results are known, resume the meeting, call for the clerk to report the results of the balloting process, and if the PBID is approved by the property owners through the ballot, then adopt the revised resolution forming the PBID as modified, approving the assessment formula, and levying the assessments. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Are there any members of the public that we...
So far we have 6 speaker slips. Rick Wright, to be followed by Claudia Troisi, to be followed by Brenda Patel.
Mr. Mayor, while I was in the room, I did not disclose, and if I may do that now, I did meet with representatives of Main Street Oceanside. I did talk to staff about this. I received a few emails as well. Thank you.
Mayor Weiss, City Council members, Rick Wright, Executive Director for Main Street Oceanside. I have been pursuing my dream, my vision for a better downtown Oceanside for a very long time. Over the last 25 years, I have devoted thousands of hours trying to make downtown Oceanside a better place. Having a long-term vision for a better downtown hasn't always been easy. I have been kicked out of downtown businesses. I have received anonymous hate letters. I have been called anti-military and unpatriotic. Right here in this room, on camera, in front of the whole city, I was called a criminal and told I was going to jail. I only mention these things to demonstrate that there has always been opposition to our vision of downtown. There always will be, and I know that. But I have always been willing to listen and to compromise, and that's what we have done here with the formation of this PBID. We know that the formation of the PBID was supported by longtime Oceanside property owners such as the Aldrich family, the Rorick family, Larry Hatter, Evan Huckabee, and St. Mary's Catholic Church. The PBID has also been supported by new property owners such as Pelican Properties, GF Properties, Wyndham Resorts, Ocean Place, Oceanside Beach Resort, Jaime Osuna, owner of Swami's Restaurant, Gabe Hogan, owner of LTH, and Excel Restaurant supported the formation of the bid. And I think that all of us who worked so hard on the formation of this PBID will be very gratified with the results of the balloting that we will hear shortly from the city clerk. But after you approved the formation of the PBID on June 19th, we went to ballot and subsequently received additional new input from some property owners. In the spirit of listening and compromise, today we are recommending 1, a smaller footprint for the PBID, and 2, a lower assessment for the condo owners that remain in the new smaller district. To be sure, the amount collected in assessments will be smaller, but I promise you that we will make every single penny count towards creating a cleaner and safer downtown. I am asking you tonight for your vote to create the revised Downtown Oceanside Property and Business Improvement District. Trust me. Thanks.
Claudia Troisi, to be followed by Brenda Batal.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council. My name is Claudia Troisi. I live in the Seaside District, and I'm here to ask for your support for the PBID. The PBID has been proven to be a successful program in other cities, and it is an ability to provide services in a concentrated area for both the locals, the tourists, as well as the transients. The PBID has been successful in other cities that have had more issues than Oceanside has, and it has been a way to bring us to the next level in terms of our image in providing more services. It's also a way to ensure an equal experience throughout downtown, and that by that experience I mean cleanliness, security, and marketing among all property owners, whether they're large or small, so that the experience to the resident or the tourist that is walking around downtown isn't faced with a property owner who is able to do more and a property owner who isn't, and the experience is not seamless. We all want it to be the best for the residents as well as the tourists. And the best way to do that is with the PBID. And finally, I do believe that the Main Street organization, through which they've proven through their management of the Sunset Market and the Farmers Market, are very capable of handling the people, the money, and the tasks necessary to make this PBID something that we can all be proud of. I ask that you vote yes for the PBID. Thank you.
Brenda Batali or Bastali? to be followed by Elizabeth Holmes, to be followed by Steve Parsons.
I'm Brenda Vitale. I live at downtown Oceanside. I live in 301 West Oceanside Terraces, 301 Mission Avenue. I spoke with you a few times ago in my opposition against the PVID for several reasons. One thing, and I do compliment the city of Oceanside and Rick and Gumarro, what they've done. I think Oceanside is great as it is. I feel, and I think Esther hit it on the head when she said pay to play, because I think this has been handled in that kind of situation. It's based upon the size of the property, and your big parcels of property are the Ute tribes, the 5 lots they own, the new hotels, the city of Oceanside. In fact, the petition didn't even get through until the city of Oceanside backed it. So you have people that, organizations that are in the process of building properties, and they're beholden to the city to get their properties approved, passed, and all that. So they're new to the area, and they are almost forced in their heart to pay for this. The city wants it, we'll do it, we're going along with it. So I think it is almost a forced pay to play, overlooking the businesses that are here, and he mentioned some that are excited about it. When I've talked to them, they're not. I don't know how they're voted, but they're not excited about it. We have in our building 38 owners there that our vote is nothing because we're just such a tiny little parcel. So I feel like we're not heard, and in fact, I appreciate that you are reducing the amount that we pay. And I notice you're reducing the perimeter of it, probably because a lot of those people didn't want to be in it. If, for example, the transit center didn't want to be in it, you didn't put them in the boundaries. So they planned it to have the people that were required to vote for it. And so I think it was, and it's probably premature because they don't know what they need. I think if anything we need at Oceanside would be the city itself to have a nice street cleaning facility that has a guy 2 hours every day cleaning different streets. That's the one thing that our sidewalks need to be cleaned. So I appreciate your hearing my concerns, and it's probably going to pass because we have no say in it. If it does, I hope it's a success, but I don't think it was handled properly. Thank you.
Elizabeth Holmes, to be followed by Steve Parsons, to be followed by Patrick Mejia.
My apologies. Good evening. I'm here in opposition. My name is Elizabeth Holmes. I live at 301. I'm a neighbor of Brenda's. When I saw the information from city staff tonight, I was amazed. That looked more like a business plan than what I got. What I received was, how are the funds going to be allocated? And there's no dollar amount on here. There's no business case for this project. They can tell me how, what they have ideas on, but they're not telling me how they're spending it. I understand that the folks that are in the assessment will be responsible for managing that, and I just heard about the annual the report to the city, so my questions about what governance is over it is now answered. The lack of information to owners was very difficult to understand. When I looked at the original $500,000 budget with no explanation on how that money would be spent or allocated towards those proposed ideas, I can appreciate Rick's dream. We all love Oceanside, but I didn't quite understand why I needed to fund that dream. No contact, to my understanding from the information I received as an owner, no contact was made with OPD, Solutions for Change, North County Transit District, Marjorie Pierce, or Brother Bennos to understand what's currently being done, what the need is in the community in this specific area, and how we'd be able to help. There's no information on the admin or the advocacy for the person who is handling the money and managing this program. What's the salary of this person? It's $100,000. I want to sign up. Show me where to apply for the job. But that information's not in here for the owners. These FAQs, like I said, show no dollars. Tonight was the first time that I saw dollars. I now understand the oversight. Thank you with the annual report. I don't understand who the interested stakeholders were that they talked to. It's vague information. They're vague ideas. We don't have specifics. And if I were a business, this wouldn't make my business case, and I wouldn't fund it. So I would urge you not to. Thank you.
Steve Parsons? Oh, Stephen Bridges up first?
Yeah.
To be followed by Patrick Mejia.
Okay. Shall I wait for the green light, or?
You could go right now.
Okay. Yeah, well, thank you for the opportunity to speak. This is my wife, Bridget, and I'm Steve Parsons, and we own individually a condo in downtown Oceanside, so within the PBID district. And we're just on the fence about how to vote, and essentially, we're kind of looking at this, and there's a lot of good ideas. We just wish we had more detail so we knew what the money was going towards, and a little bit more specifics. I came here to also kind of ask how we originally arrived at the $500,000 budget. I didn't know that it had been brought down to the $300K, so that's, that mitigates some of the concerns. Wanted to know how we arrived at the apportioning of the whole budget. How do we allocate this much percent for one thing and this much percent for safety and so on? And then had some questions about how the PBID governing committee works. How do you determine how it's staffed? And how do they go about deciding how the money is essentially spent? And then also, is it possible to make sure that there's representation for individual condo owners on that committee? So I don't know if you have anything or...
Yeah, that was just one idea, that we really want to make sure that there are individual condo owners that are represented on the community, because we were not consulted really in the forming of this. So to make sure there's representation as a block even would be a good thing, because the other businesses and city and stuff are going to be represented as a block as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick Mejia?
Good evening. My name is Patrick Mejia. I'm the executive pastor at Grace Christian Center, 311 Seagate. I own a home here in Oceanside and own a home here for 25 years. Attended the church at Grace Christian Center at 311 Seagate for 35 years. So I've seen a lot of the improvement downtown, and although I'm not opposed to improvement, we have watched many, many buildings go up around us and have been part of the cleanup and help of the city of downtown. But we were shocked with the assessment notice that we had because it was the first notice that we received. So the first notice that we received to our property was simply that, by the way, you need to show up to a meeting and vote yes or no. So that was number one. So there wasn't sufficient notice that went out to every single business. I can't speak to all the businesses, but to our business, that was the first notice that we received. We have some concerns, and some of those concerns really are around some of the concerns that were already mentioned. That the specifics, it's very vague as to what some of the improvements and special conditions are for each one of those property owners. That there is no avenue of opting out whatsoever, that we will be assessed this to our property taxes and no way to say, no, we don't want to pay this. Or if we have a dissatisfaction with some of those things that are provided, our dissatisfaction will just go to a board, a governing board, and nothing against your company at all, but to a governing board of unelected officials. So unelected officials that will make a decision that's assessing money to a nonprofit. That's a concern of ours. It's a 5-year pilot program, Why not a 1-year or a 2-year pilot program that can then be assessed and looked at? But 5 years that can be increased 3% each year. And then at the end of 5 years, who's going to tell this to go away? My last concern here is this will be morphed into something similar to an HOA that will essentially just be a
fine funding assessing board that will go around and tell us, we have a very, very old building, 311 Seagays, very old building. And if and when we are already making improvements to that building, will this board tell us what color we can paint? Will it tell us when we have to trim the trees, et cetera, et cetera? So, again, we're in opposition. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any additional speakers? Okay, seeing none, just so you know, I'm going...
I haven't registered. Can I speak?
Yes, you may. And just so you know, following the speaker, I'm going to ask staff to respond to some of the issues and questions. For those of you that are here opposed, when I hit this gavel to close the public hearing, they will no longer take your votes. So if you have not yet voted formally and turned it in, you need to do so now.
Mr. Mayor, would you entertain a couple of minutes after the before you do the gavel, so that staff will have a chance to address some of the concerns possibly that might affect their vote?
Sure.
Ready? My name is Sean Weatherall. I have a business condo in the area. So this really seems based on, first of all, the piece of information we got. Like everyone else does, there's no specifics, there's no plan, there's no details, there's no definitions. I would like to know who are the coalition of property owners. I don't see that anywhere in anything I got. I don't know the difference between, I see commercial and condo, I kind of get that. Public, I kind of get who are in religious, but I don't really know who public is. Is that public? If anyone has that, after I'm done what I'm going to say, which is in about 30 seconds, I'd like somebody to tell me that and who this coalition is. But this really seems to be like a railroad type deal where we get this thing, and as somebody said earlier, only one copy, one notice, here it is, and my bill is going to be, I don't really care about the money as much. I'd like to know really where it's going, because, you know, once you start taxing like this, it just keeps going and going and going. Thank you.
Okay, at this time we will come back to staff if you would like to address some of their issues.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Deanna Lorson, Assistant City Manager. So Main Street Oceanside did begin working on this quite a number of months ago. I did attend several steering committee meetings. I know that they hosted open houses. I do know that they did go door to door and tried to solicit input. They can elaborate in more detail all the ways that they tried to obtain input. But there was an input process that happened before we brought the item forward to start the formation process. The actual mailing of the ballot is the legal requirement to notify every property owner, but I know that there was other outreach that was performed that they can elaborate on. In terms of just defining public, that would be property either owned by the City of Oceanside or any other public entity. I believe the city is the only public entity within the proposed boundary. In terms of management, so the City Council will need to enter into an agreement with Main Street Oceanside, delegating them the authority for managing the PBID. That agreement can include the criteria that Council would want to see. There would be a requirement that they need to have bylaws in order to define how representation can be selected on their governing board. They would operate like a typical nonprofit with bylaws, operating procedures, etc., with the exceptions that they will be subject to the Brown Act. All their meetings will be open to the public. Agendas must be published, and any records pertaining to the PBID are subject to the Public Records Act and will be available to anyone who's interested. They then will prepare annual report to the City Council that will come before the City Council for review in order to place the assessments for the following year. That report would also include a recommendation of whether or not the 3% increase would be imposed. That report will demonstrate how the funds were spent and whether or not the plan has been complied with. It is only for 5 years. It cannot continue beyond 5 years without going through this formation process all over again. So it has a definite end. And in terms of the management district plan, a summary of the plan was mailed with the ballot to all property owners, but the complete plan is available. It was referenced that it was available in the notice that went out, and that can be provided to anybody that would like a copy. It's a public document. It does provide more detail about the eligible categories of expenditures, and that chart that I showed in my presentation came directly out of that plan. That pie chart is how the funds can be spent. And as I mentioned, the annual report will demonstrate that those funds have been spent in accordance with the plan. I hope that I've covered all the questions that were raised.
Thank you. Is there anyone that needs additional time to go vote?
I just would like to know if you could answer my question.
She can get me separate, but if you want to go vote now.
I could also accept your ballots. Just make sure that your ballots are sealed when you hand them to me.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Can the 3% be reduced if we feel like it's not working at the price? Is that for that 3%? Can that be reduced?
So it's up to 3%. So council could maintain at the level amount if needed. The 3% is there in case there are contracts and inflationary increases, cost of living types of increases to contracts and so forth. But it doesn't have to be imposed, and that will be something that will be evaluated through the annual report and a request from Main Street with documentation to support any increase up to a maximum of 3%.
And I heard somebody wanting an explanation of the management, and I didn't hear that in your summary there just now. How much is that person making?
So the management category is, let me pull it up real quick. Maximum of 11% that can go towards administration and advocacy. That's $40,000 a year. So that's the maximum amount that Main Street could pay towards funding oversight of this district. A staff person, a part of a staff person, outreach, however they want to accomplish it, but that's the maximum amount that could be spent in administrative tasks. The rest of the funds have to go to the services that would be directly provided.
And the last thing is, are these meetings that the board, if you will, that is overseeing this, are they going to be open to the public?
Yes, they will be subject to the Brown Act, so they will have to be published ahead of time and open to the public. Anyone can observe and participate.
Okay. Thank you.
Because you have a light on, do you want to, because we're going to have to recess here while they tabulate the votes. Councilman Rodriguez, do you want to?
The commission, some of the residents were concerned that their voice would not be heard as a condo owner, and how is the makeup of that delineated within the language of the commission? Is there the ability to ensure that the condo residential residents have a voice, committed voice on that commission?
So the bylaws have not been prepared, but they certainly can be and presented to council along with the contract between the city and Main Street to operate it. And those provisions could be provided for in the bylaws to make sure that there is broad representation from all segments of the PBID. And so I think it seems clear that that's a concern, and I would certainly recommend to Main Street that be included in the bylaws so that they do represent everybody that is in the district.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to close the public hearing portion of this, and we are going to suspend, break, recess. Yes, we will. We're going to take a break on this item while they tabulate the results. Yes, we're going to go to item 31 in the meantime. Is Marjorie still here?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Marjorie Pierce, Housing and Neighborhood Services Director. Staff is recommending that the council adopt a resolution to certify and approve the appointment of Wanda Thurston as an hourly extra help professional assistant. As you probably are aware, Wanda retired at the end of July, and she fills a critical position in which she has been our accountant and has handled multiple local, state, and federal audits that we have, which is unusual, or I guess it's unique to our department. We have been designated as high performers and would like to continue in that vein. We have hired a replacement for Wanda. However, he has not had any sort of experience with the housing grants and the large Section 8 program that we run. And we found that it's really important that the accountant not only stand the money piece and the auditing piece of this, but also that they understand the programs and all of the different rules that apply to the different grant programs that we operate. And that's why we're recommending that the council certify this appointment so that she can start immediately to provide consulting services to the new supervising accountant.
Thank you. Is there any public? Item. Councilmember Sanchez?
Move adoption.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Five zero. And with that, we will, I guess, take a break or take a recess or whatever we're calling it. For the next 20 minutes, I think they said they wanted 25 minutes. So, we'll come back to that. So we will reconvene at 5 minutes to 7.
Join us the first Friday of each month for the Oceanside Art Walk. Located in downtown Oceanside and centered at Artist Alley, the Oceanside Art Walk features vibrant art, performances, activities, food, and fun for all ages. Oceanside Art Walk is a free family experience for locals and visitors. For more information, visit oceansideartwalk.org.
Homebound is designed to bring books and other materials straight to your doorstep. After you've signed up, you will be matched with a volunteer who will set up a schedule of deliveries depending on your needs. Your volunteer will select materials according to your preferences, deliver the materials to your door, and return them when you are finished. This is a free service. To qualify, you must be an Oceanside resident who is temporarily or permanently confined to your home due to illness or disability. Signing up is simple. If you or someone you know might be interested, call Hillary Hawley, Homebound Coordinator, at 760-435-5577 or email hhawley at ci.oceanside.ca.us. U.S. Historic Highway 101 is a 935-mile route that runs through multiple states and connects many coastal communities. It has been 20 years since the city of Oceanside helped lead the way to designating the 101 as a historic route. As the birthplace of the movement, Oceanside takes pride in its 3-mile stretch of history. Today, visitors and locals of Oceanside can experience a modern-day getaway with a taste of the past. Beautiful beach scenery, eclectic shops and boutiques, historical buildings, delicious food, restaurants and breweries are just some of what the highway offers. A hip historic hotel, dining venues in classic buildings, and attractions that celebrate the past are all part of Oceanside's new Vintage 101 vibe. Visitors can experience Oceanside's history through numerous activities along the highway's route. Oceanside Historical Society offers seasonal guided walking tours and maps for self-guided tours that include noteworthy architectural sites, including the Oceanside Pier and Junior Seau Beach Amphitheater, Top Gun House, Roberts Cottages, Oceanside Civic Center, and the Brook and Star Theaters. At the Thursday evening Sunset Market in downtown Oceanside, a popular year-round activity due to the nearly 200 gourmet food vendors, there will be a special booth featuring rare photos of Highway 101 for visitors to enjoy during fall months. The California Surf Museum is a great stop for visitors seeking a glimpse into the history of Southern California's surf culture. While the Oceanside Museum of Art, which played a key factor in Oceanside being named one of just 14 California cultural districts by the California Arts Council in 2017, offers visitors a great example of 1929 Irving-Gill architecture, as well as a renowned venue for discovering cultural and contemporary art. South O, a quaint Coast Highway neighborhood and shopping district, offers an Oceanside twist on Retro 101 with unique makerspaces, vintage-inspired shops, and a variety of popular local dining options, including a Prohibition-era-inspired speakeasy. In 1998, the city of Oceanside was instrumental in securing a historic designation for the roadway, so that it would be recognized for its outstanding natural, historic, cultural, and scenic qualities, as well as its significant contribution to the development of California in the 20th century. Today, remaining portions of the original U.S. Highway Route 101 are recognized by highway markers and signs that highlight the special designation. Although known by different names in different cities, Highway 101 continues to evolve and grow in exciting ways and will remain a California treasure.
Welcome to Oceanside Harbor. Opened in 1963, the beautiful Oceanside Harbor in northwest Oceanside is a wonderful location to relax and enjoy the scenic views. For over 50 years, Oceanside Harbor has been a launching location for aquatic adventures. You can sail, spend the day on a deep-sea fishing boat, whale watch, rent kayaks, jet skis, pedal boats, or glide atop a paddleboard. The Oceanside Harbor has 24 34-foot slips and several side ties set aside for cruisers that can be reserved with prior arrangements. Remaining guest spaces are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Call the Harbor Office for reservations. A year-round favorite is a visit with the sea lion. Snap your photo from a distance. Please do not approach. Glancing down among the rocks, you'll see brightly colored garibaldi, the California state fish. Crabs can be seen scurrying among the rocks as well. Venture onto the small fishing pier nearby, and you'll likely meet a pelican or snowy egret looking for lunch. Dolphins have also been known to venture in and take a look around, so keep your eyes peeled. The Oceanside Harbor is a fantastic location to enjoy a delicious meal and take in the scenic view. Next stop, the charming Harbor Village, where visitors can pick up souvenirs, kites, beach towels, and decor. Visit the market for the freshest, just-caught seafood, too. You'll find about 2 miles of sidewalk to stroll or walk your dog, which will take you around the entire harbor. There are benches and picnic tables if you want to do a little people, boat, and seabird watching. There really is no more relaxing way to spend a day. Parks are free along the road or in one of our many lots. Ideal for family fishing fun, the small fishing pier is located in the center of the Oceanside Harbor, overlooking the harbor entrance. Catch a variety of local species. Excellent for children with picnic areas immediately adjacent. A wide, expansive, sandy view, Harbor Beach is Oceanside's largest. The jetties create great surf conditions, a beautiful spot to watch local surfers and take in a surf contest. This beach has 3 lifeguard towers, picnic areas, volleyball courts, playgrounds, fire lanes, and restrooms. Harbor Beach is a beautiful venue that has something to offer everyone.
I'm Kelly O. Davis, and this is Did You Know on KOCT. Did you know that you can support KOCT, the voice of North County, by becoming a friend of KOCT.org? Becoming a friend of KOCT not only backs the future quality of KOCT programming, but grants you access to KOCT's community calendar, among other great benefits. If you are a nonprofit for only $125 a year, you can advertise your events or services to the North County community. You can access the bulletin board on our community calendar, aired on Cox Channel 18, twice a day, Monday through Friday, and once on Saturday. You will receive a 10% discount off of KOCT's production services, as well as dedicated airtime for your submitted program. If you are a filmmaker for only $150 a year, North County filmmakers have the exciting opportunity to get their film shown on KOCT's Community Channel 18 and on KOCT.org. By becoming a friend of KOCT, you will receive dedicated airtime for your program, as well as having your program featured on our Filmmakers Spotlight on KOCT.org. Your program will be shared on all of KOCT's social media platforms, and you will receive a 10% discount off KOCT production services. Go to KOCT.org and let's be friends.
reconvene the suspended, adjourned, took a break, whatever, public hearing item, recessed. And we'll turn it over to our city clerk.
Honorable Mayor and Council, the city clerk received a total of 106 ballots by the close of the public hearing tonight. 36 ballots representing 259,577.06 were cast in favor of district formation, and ballots representing $81,929.76 were cast in opposition. Of the ballots returned, 76.01% are in support of forming the district, and 23.99% are opposed. There is no majority protest. The council may take action on the district formation.
Thank you very much.
Just for a clear record, there were a handful of written protests where the property owner signed but did not print their name. There was a couple where they printed their name but did not sign, and my direction to the staff tabulating the results was to count those, and that we would waive any irregularity in the form of the written protest, which is allowed for specifically under the code.
Sanchez?
The numbers were 76% in support, is that right?
The city clerk can provide those to you after the meeting if you'd like.
All right, it is, there is a supermajority that is in support. I would like the comments to be taken into consideration through staff and Main Street Oceanside with respect to more detail, especially how money will be spent, the whole idea behind how representation will happen. And we always say if you're going to be taxed and you are, you need to represent, you need to step up. So this is very much like what happened with Measure X, in that it first passed and then we formed the oversight committee and all the rules that go with it. I know that Main Street Oceanside and even through the Downtown Business Association in the past were very much interested in how to improve the downtown. Lots of really great changes, but what the city does is provide a level of service to everyone. We have to be equal and, treat everyone the same, including downtown. So that's why we don't do the more increased cleaning, if you will, cleaning of the streets and the sidewalks and things like that. And so I support the notion of a PBID. I'm actually very excited about it. I think it also will bring you together, the whole idea about having a vision of, how to make those improvements. Have that discussion. 5 years is actually a very short time, believe it or not. It's going to go like this. But do please get involved. I think that, you can make it what you want. If you don't want to attend the meetings, and Main Street already meets once a month. You guys, once a month. In the mornings, yeah. I guess somebody's suggesting that maybe an evening meeting. Is that what you're suggesting? Might be appropriate. Whoever said morning. Okay. Fingers pointing. All right. In other words, have this discussion. When's the best time to meet? And I'm looking here. So the motion then is to, take action. Yes, please form this. And with all the hope that I have that this will turn out the best, for the best of Oceanside. And I share the vision with Rick. And I know that they've done such a great job through Main Street Oceanside. This is a very, very public process with the Brown Act and notice. And I know one of the problems that they had was the ownership kind of contact information was difficult to get. Some people were weren't listed as owners in town. They were listed as owners out of town. So this will help, I think, clear up the list and improve the list and improve the contact. So very excited going forward. Thank you.
Can we just clarify that the motion includes the formation of the district as it's been revised to
Yes.
reduce the property and
revised.
reduce the assessment? Thank
Yes,
you.
yes, 50% reduction in costs to homeowners and the smaller district, yes.
I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. There's no other speakers. Please vote.
Motion approved, 5-0.
Are there any general council member comments?
Yes. Do you want to start, Jack? Okay, thank you. All right, well, I'll try to be quick here, but there are a couple of things that I really want to underscore. First, I did attend the Samoan Cultural Celebrations both at Melville Bishop Park and at the Civic Center. This year included international competition in cup stacking. It's making a comeback in a very, very big way. We had truly international. I attended the South Oak Community and Merchants Association meeting. There were over 60 people in attendance, and they very specifically requested that the Coast Highway Corridor Study meeting, which is a workshop, but it's also a public hearing, be moved from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. I attended the Main Street Oceanside meeting and meetings of the Crown Heights Neighborhood Association and the Eastside Neighborhood Association. Also, especially last night's National Night Out with the Oceanside Police Department and the Oceanside Fire Department. I participated in several discussions regarding homelessness, and I think that there are some very good projects out there that we could support. I attended the Sandag Shoreline Preservation work group meeting, and this is something that's very, very important. There was a presentation about the demonstration project that was completed by Cardiff in Encinitas. It's called the Living Sand Dunes Project, and it's very exciting because this is a project that got a lot of support by Sandag as well as by, the agencies involved. The whole idea was to save 101. If you saw the before and after pictures, which they presented to us, there was very little sand between the 101 and the waters starting. Now, with the living dunes, and this is sand dunes, there is a much broader sand area. It's living in the sense that they even planted a few plants within the sand dunes, and there is now habitat on there and a path for the public to go through. This has increased the sand on there, and I think it's something that we can really learn from. And I'm planning to take a tour and see how and if we can do this here in Oceanside to save sand. And just briefly, it basically is building it from the bottom up, so it's kind of hardscape on the bottom and then building up to the sand. It was really a very interesting project that they pursued. And as I said, all the environmental agencies supported it. And then I did also attend a planning meeting for the Census 2020. It's now at implementation stage, so on August 16th, there's a big meeting to basically present what it's going to look like. Oceanside especially has been undercounted in the past, especially 2010, and everything that we apply for in terms of grants or anything, we have to use the census number. So I'm really hoping the hard-to-count communities include veteran, Latino, Phil-Am, 0 to 5, believe it or not, homeless, and Samoan, African American. So basically, it's going to be very, very critical that we participate as a city in ensuring a complete count for the city of Oceanside. The timeline that when they're going to start, seeing, that you're filling out the questionnaire, and it's going to be online for the first time, is between April and say June, and after June, it's going to be when they knock on the door. We're hoping really to get people from the community to help and make sure that gets done so that somebody knocking on the door is someone that you recognize, that, you're not going to pretend you're not home. You're really going to, do this questionnaire. It's only supposed to take 10 minutes. It's a self-identification kind of a thing. There's no right answer. It's however you feel that you represent, who you are, in terms of your background. So that's my report. Thank you.
Councilman Rodriguez.
July, we're quiet. Council doesn't have any meetings. And so on July 1st, I welcomed my new baby girl, who's 5 weeks today, and I spent a lot of time with my kids and my wife. That's all I have to report.
I understand we have two speakers on the adjournment issue.
Yes, we do.
Call them, please.
First speaker is Donna Geierman, to be followed by Arlene Hammerschmidt.
Donna.
First of all, thank you so much, Mayor Weiss, for allowing a couple of us to speak. And I apologize for making a mistake on the 2 versus 6 on the September meeting. So I do appreciate this time. And I just want to make a formal request for the Coast Highway Vision Plan to be held at 6, because that, again, is a very critical vision that needs, more public. I mean, there's been a lot of public, but I think the public should have the final shot at 6 o'clock. And also I went to the South O community meeting, of course, and majority, we definitely want the alternative 3 where we just have the crosswalks and beautification, and the majority of them wanted to have it at 6 o'clock so they could express themselves to you. So thank you very much for the time, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor, for taking 2 speakers on this adjournment. Arlene Hammerschmidt, Fire Mountain. I was also attend the South Oceanside Business and Merchants and Residents Association meetings occasionally, and I happened to be at the last meeting. I agree, and I'm proud to be able to carry their message here. This is an important workshop that affects South Oceanside as well as all of Oceanside. And there's a lot of working people in South Oceanside. And I know it would be hugely appreciated if this workshop was held at 6 o'clock. Hugely appreciated. So please take that into consideration. 6 o'clock for that next workshop and your adjournment. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Sanchez.
I would go ahead and like to make the motion to move the workshop from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock. We have, since the time that was released, I have had a lot of requests that it be at 6 o'clock because of the huge impact on Coast Highway and on the businesses, especially, as well as the residents. So asking to move this to 6 o'clock.
Councilmember Kine.
I'll second the move to 6, but I also want to be aware of other council members' schedules. I know this is only a week ahead of time, so I don't know what other events council members have scheduled, but if it's feasible, I would also support a 6 o'clock time.
Deputy Mayor Feller.
I'll support this one, but I've been doing this a long time, and there's not a big difference between what you get in the daytime and as well as the nighttime.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with the 6. I agree with Deputy Mayor Feller. You have working families that have children who at 6 o'clock are going to have to make arrangements for babysitters to come in. I mean, you pick one time, you're eliminating a demographic. You pick another, you're eliminating a demographic. And so, but if, that's but the individuals that come to our council meeting keep advocating for and sending emails, that's fine, but you are eliminating a specific demographic regardless.
So then with that, we will adjourn to the Mayor Council Workshop at 6 o'clock on Wednesday, August 14th. Do we want to vote? We can just adjourn. I mean, there's clearly support for it, so we will adjourn to 6 o'clock.
Thank you.